Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Vish and welcome to the video that everyone makes in the beginning of the month. What I want to read in the month of July. So as usual, I have a stack of books here that I want to read in the month of July. I think I have 9 books that I want to read in the month of July, but I've been averaging about 4 to 5 books a month, so I don't know who I think I am. But here is a stack of books that I might get to in the month of July. Let's go through the mandatory reads of the month. So the first book is Magician by Raymond E. Feist. This is the first book in a classic adult fantasy series, and this will be a buddy read between me, Abby, from Abby Salter, and Sam, our good friend, and we've been doing buddy reads a couple times a year. Normally we pick a series and then buddy read the whole series together, but we've had a couple of duds, to be honest. But we're hoping the Rift War Saga trilogy will be a win for us. So Magician is actually on Kindle Unlimited for me, so this is a good free way to try out this book. This is a part of a 30+ book series. It's kind of a trilogy, and then the other series are set in the same world. I don't know if we're committed to reading all 30+ books, but we're committed to reading this first book and seeing if we want to continue on with the trilogy. I don't know very much about this book, but from what I read of the synopsis, it's very Elderlings-esque, just because it is a classic fantasy. We're following our main character, Pug, who wants to become a master magician, but he is an orphaned kitchen boy with no family, no prospects, so he has to kind of work his way to become a master magician. And of course, there is a war and he has to be a part of it. Don't know how exactly, but I guess I will find out. Very excited to dive into this series. I don't think I've read a classic fantasy series in quite a while, so very excited to dive into this. The next book I want to read is actually a rollover from my June TBR, and that is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Finally got it from the library. There was quite a bit of drama with this book. So this is the June book club pick from my In Real Life book club. I still haven't read it yet just because I've been waiting for quite some time, but I'm ready now and I'm going to read this in July. At this moment that I'm filming, I don't know the July's pick, but hopefully by the time I'm editing this, I know what it is, and here it is. This is July pick. Hopefully it's a good pick. So Belladonna is the first book in a YA fantasy trilogy. And because I spoke about this in my last TBR, I'm just gonna briefly say that we follow our main character, Signa, who has deathly powers, so she can communicate with ghosts. And the foster family that she's staying with, the foster mother has died and she has been communicating with her. And the foster mom has told her that she has been murdered. So Signa has allied with Death himself to try and solve her foster mother's murder. It's definitely interesting. It's not something I would pick up, to be honest, but I've heard from people that I trust that this is a good fun time, and I'm very interested in the romance because it is with Death. So I am interested to see how this will play out. I'm definitely going to start it in the next couple of days. The next book I want to read is The Memory of Always by Jen Lyons. This is the 3rd book in the Chorus of Dragons series. I read the 2nd book in the month of June, which was a good time. It definitely wasn't as good as book 1 just because the novelty of the unique storytelling has worn off for me. I just want a normal storytelling at this point. But from what I've read of the first chapter, you can see my bookmark in there. From what I've read of the beginning in the first chapter, it is still with that unique storytelling. So what this series is about. So in the first book, we have Kieran, who is our main character. And Kieran has been imprisoned by this demon called Talon. And both Kieran and Talon are recounting Kieran's story and how he ended up in prison. And it is a entertaining, complex story about a prophecy that this bad man Relosvar wants to fulfill. And Kieran is part of this prophecy, but we don't know if he's going to actually fulfill it, because in fulfilling it, he will release the king of demons, and the demons will also roam free. There is resurrections, there is soul swapping, there are dragons, there are shapeshifters that can shapeshift into anyone, so you don't know if that person is real. It's a lot to take in and keep up with, and I've kind of relinquished my control to keep up with it just because it's a lot. So with the storytelling, as I said before, Kieran and Talon is recounting the story, and then we have a transcriber who is transcribing the story to someone else, and they're adding their own quips into the story, which we can read via the footnote. While the first book, again, the novelty was great, but then with the second book, we have a different transcriber, and she was adding her personality and her quips, which was honestly quite cringy for me, and I didn't like second book as much as I did the first one. And with this one, we have the same transcriber as we did in the first one, which I didn't mind at all because he's very detached from the story and he's just telling facts, so he's not in it quite as much. So maybe I will enjoy this more than the second book. We shall see. Things have happened in the end of the second book, so I want to see the consequences of it in the third one. Honestly, because of the second book, I can take or leave the series, but I will give the third book a try and then decide if I want to DNF the series. Because I feel like with epic fantasy series, I am a very slow reader, as we have established with my 4 to 5 books a month. I don't want to waste time on series that I will feel meh about, so I think book 3 will be the deciding factor for me. The next book I want to read is The Battle Drum by Sarah Al-Rifi. Guys, I have been holding back for months to read this second installment in the Ending Fire trilogy. So book 3, The Ending Fire, is coming out in September here in Australia, and I have been waiting to read book 2 now in the month of July, just so it's spaced out evenly between book 1 and book 3, so I don't forget a lot of details. So the Ending Fire trilogy is set in a world where there is a hierarchical system based on your blood type. So we have red, or the embers, that rule the empire, and then we have the blues, or the dusters, that are the laborers of this world, and then you have the clear bloods, or ghostings, that are the slaves of this world. So these people came from an island that was destroyed by the Ending Fire, and they set up in this new island and they established this hierarchical system. And decades ago, Blue Bloods stole 12 Ember children to be raised in the Blue Blood Society. So when the Aktabar, which is a trial that comes around every 10 years to decide the rulers of this empire, so the Ember children are trained throughout their life to enter this Aktabar, win the Aktabar, and then become the rulers of this empire and kind of take down the regime and the prejudices that the empire has established on the world. It's kind of very Red Rising-esque, where we have this lower class person go into the higher class people's society and take them down from within. And the first book, oh my god, we're honestly sleeping on this series. The first book was so good. The world building was excellent. The characters were excellent. There's just so many details in the world building that just was so cohesive, and I cannot wait for all of that to be built upon in the Battle Drum. I have no doubt that Sarah Al-Rifi will not let me down. So every month I read a subscription book, and last month I did read one. So this month I honestly don't know which one I want to read, but I do have 3 options that I'm feeling at the moment. They may change, but I will let you know my options anyway. So the first option is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. This is the Fairy Loot edition that came in the April adult box of this year. So I have read A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Love it. One of my favorite books, to be honest. So I'm excited for Evocation. I haven't heard the best things about Evocation and An Education in Malice, so I honestly don't know how I will feel about Evocation, but I don't know much about this book except it is a polygamous relationship, and the 3 of them follow magic-riddled Boston through hierarchical secret societies, familial bonds from beyond the grave, and much more in this gorgeous, richly imagined novel. That's literally the synopsis. But it's to do with the occult and breaking familial curses or generational curses, so I'm excited to dive into this. I know I like her writing, so we'll see how I feel about this if I do get to it. The next option is 5 Broken Blades by Mai Corlin. This is the Goldsboro book for May of this year, and I've heard mixed things about this, but I am excited just because it follows quite a few perspectives, and they're all kind of misfits that have to work together to assassinate this king. So there is a hired hitman seeking atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, and even a prince banished for his cruel crimes. I'm excited about all 5 of them working together for a common goal. I definitely think that might be drama between the 3 of them, maybe a found family aspect. We shall see. I hope I like this. And the third option that I have for my subscription box slot is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This came in the adult Fairy Loot box. in December of 2022. So it's been a while. I've heard many good things about this book, and some people who don't like it just because of the writing style. So we'll see where I fall in that. But I think I read the first couple of lines in this book and I like the writing style, but we'll see overall how I feel. So I have Emily Wilde, who is a researcher that is making the world's first encyclopedia of fairy lore. And so she travels to this village to continue her research and write her book when she comes across Wendell Bamblebee in the same village, who is her academic rival. Honestly, it sounds like a good time. She has a dog called Shadow. Oh my god, he looks honestly so cute. I'm excited to dive into this cozy fantasy. I know the second book is already out. The duology is, no wait, the trilogy is not complete, but the third book's coming out very soon, I believe. So I'm excited to dive into this if I get to it. So these are the three options for my sub box book slot. Okay, now let's get into the maybes of the month of July. So first up is Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. I should have put this in mandatory, to be honest, because I am halfway through this, and right now when I'm filming is the 29th. No, it is the 30th of June, so tomorrow will be the 1st. So I'm definitely going to either finish this today or tomorrow, so this will definitely be done. So if I do finish this, I will be putting As Good as Dead, the third book, into my TBR for the month of July. This is the second and third book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. It is a YA mystery trilogy that I really enjoy. I read the first book in the month of June and I ate it up. I get it now. I borrowed these from the library and it's told in this like mixed media format. So we follow our main character Pippa, who has picked a school project, and that project is to solve the murder of Andy Bell, who is the person who lived in this town and she was murdered 5 years ago by Sal Singh, and she's trying to prove that Sal Singh did not murder Andy Bell, and Sal Singh himself was murdered as well. So Pippa launches her investigation with the help of Sal's brother Ravi, and these two kind of love their romance, not gonna lie. And it actually took a really dark turn. I didn't expect it to get dark. Trigger warnings for animal death in this. I did not know that going in, and I was very sad, to be honest. I was actually upset. But it talks a lot about mental health. I'm just really enjoying my time with the series. I am, again, halfway through the second book, and it's good. It's following a different mystery, but I want to see how it plays out. I don't think it is as entertaining as the first book, but I'm still really enjoying it because I'm kind of invested and connected to the characters already, so I'm happy to just follow their journey and see how things turn out. Third book is quite thick, but again, I'm here for this. The next book I want to get to is From Luke Off with Love by Mariana Zapata. This is a standalone contemporary romance novel. I read Mariana Zapata's other book last month, which is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and that was really good. I wanted to try out Mariana Zapata because she's known for slow burn, and I can definitely attest to the one book that I read that she does do slow burn really well, and I like the payoff. But I did have some issues with The Wall in Winnipeg, so I want to try out her other book and see if I like it more. I feel like this is the more popular one of her works, and honestly I don't know much about this except it is an ice skating romance and it's between two rivals. Very excited to get to this. We're down to the two last book in this stack, and one of them is actually a rollover from June, and that is This Woman Kingdom by Tahira Mafi. This is another YA fantasy trilogy. I think it's more fantasy romance, but I've heard so many good things, especially from Aaron from Booked and Busy. This is very much David coded because we follow our main character Alize, who is the long lost heir to a Jinn empire, and then we also follow the Crown Prince Kamran, who has learned about this prophecy that is going to kill the king, his father, and it's basically the story between Alize and Kamran, how they fall in love, and all the other fantasy plots that you will get. I also heard that there is dragons in this series. Also very excited for that. And I've read one of Tahira Mafi's books before, but that's a contemporary, but I did really like her writing style in that. So I am actually really excited to dive into this series. And last but not least is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. I didn't deep that this is my first physical art that I've ever gotten from a publisher before. So I got this a week ago. I didn't realize until I was picking out the books for the TBR that I was like, this is the first art I've ever gotten from a publisher. So thank you to Harlequin and HarperCollins for sending this my way. So I've never read an Ashley Poston book before, but I thought this seemed more up my alley than the other two because I feel like the other two has more magical realism elements in it, which I'm not totally a fan of, but I will give them a try. We follow our main character Eileen, who is going for her annual book club retreat to a small town, and the small town is the same setting that is written in her favorite romance series, and she's just so fascinated by it, and she feels like she's going to meet someone, and here enters in our male main character who is a grump, and he's a grumpy bookshop owner. Like, what's not to like? I'm very excited about this because I feel like the tropes in here are definitely some that I love, which is grumpy sunshine, small town setting, enemies to lovers. I don't know about that. I take enemies to lovers with a grain of salt, so we'll see how that is. And about books, which I'm not totally a fan of, but obviously I appreciate people's love of books, so that's going to resonate with me for sure. So I'm very excited to get to this. This comes out in July in Australia, so I definitely want to read this before it comes out. So here is my rather large, good lord, July TBR. I'm obviously not going to read all of it, and there's 2 that's missing from here because I don't have them physically. So that's a lot of books to read in the month of July. I don't even know if I'm going to read that many, but I'm certainly going to try. Let me know if you're reading any of these books that I mentioned, and let me know what you're reading in the month of July. If you made it to the end of the video, leave me a mushroom emoji down in the comments. Like this video if you like it, subscribe if you want to. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Happy reading for the month of July. Bye!